Hello everyone. I am Dipti from the team of GISA Council. I welcome you all to the webinar of the top 10 ISO 27001 audit findings conducted by GISA Council. It is a not for profit organization committed to empowering individuals and organizations through specialized training and globally recognized certifications. Our mission is to strengthen the cybersecurity and IT governance ecosystem by building skilled professionals through programs such as PCI-DSS, ISA, CISA, CSIM, CISC prep trainings, ISO 27001, CISSP prep training, SOC 2 Type 2 auditing program, and many more. In just more than 3 years since our establishment, GISA Council has proudly trained over 5,000 professionals across 70 plus countries, including participants from 170 plus global enterprises with more than 30 Fortune 500 companies among them. Before we move ahead, we would like to share an exciting opportunity. If you are looking to join internal auditor training on ISMS, registrations are now open. It is a 12 hours of live weekend batch starting from 22nd of August. Also, I'll be sharing a Google form link in the chat box. So those candidates who are interested, please fill the form. We will be in touch. I am delighted to introduce Mr. Pradeep, a highly experienced trainer with 28 plus years of industry experience, including 22 years in information security and cybersecurity. He has worked with Fortune 100 clients across BFSI, ITES, telecom, and healthcare with expertise in risk management, IT governance, BCPDR, and compliance frameworks such as ISO 27001, PCI DSS, SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR. Best wishes to all the candidates. Thank you, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Dipti. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to have this webinar where it's just a pathway to the 12-hour session that I'm going to take on the 27001 internal auditor program. So as part of any audits, we do encounter non-conformities. So we will see some major and minor ones, which are generally, as I put the top 10 ones which are there. Okay, so that is what we plan to do for today. And okay, so this is the intended uh, session for today, where we are just going to see some top 10 ISO 27001 audit findings. Okay, so as Deepthi did mention, I've had a good 22-year career in the information security domain where I've sat on both sides of the table as a lead auditor and also as a in the as an auditee for an ISO audit. So I've seen both the sides of the table, and keeping all that into perspective is where I thought, okay, let me share some of the findings that I have generally encountered. Since we wanted to have a 1 hour session, and I think this I thought this would be a very interesting topic to take. So to set the stage, nobody enjoys a surprise during any stage 2 audit. So statistically, over 70% of certifications, delay because of the non-conformities which are there. Okay, so most organizations sit through at least 3 or 4 audit cycles before they finally break the habit and of repeating the same findings. So, you know, during today's session, I'm just going to break down on some of those findings. Okay, and and we'll see, if it resonates with you all. Maybe you could also, you could also understand why these findings are there. Sorry. So before we start, how many of you are in the 27,001 as an auditor or as an auditee role? Okay, I see Chris. Okay. Yeah, Gula. I think there are some questions. What is that? Okay. So that is the plan for today. So this is what we plan to cover. Okay. So we'll just see in general about 27,001, and we'll see the breakdown of all the findings that we are going to see, and some of the root cause remediations thereafter. Okay, so getting to the topic. So before we actually dive into the findings, let's you know have a quick refresher on the standard. So 27,001 is an international framework uh, for an information security management system. Uh, it is structured into two core parts, and there are 10 mandatory management clauses, which is clause 4 through 10. And then you have your annexure clause, which provides a uh, reference set of controls which are selected based on the risk profile of an organization. Then in the 2022 update, the annexure A has been streamlined from 114 controls. Sorry, just give me one sec. Uh, 114 controls down to 93 controls organized across 4 themes. And so the thing that you can remember is 27,001 is risk based, not a checklist based assessment that you would do. Every control must trace back to a specific risk in your assessment, and certification runs uh, in a 3-year cycle where you have the stage 1, stage 2, then you have your annual surveillance audits. Uh, so that then you have your full recertification that happens in year 3. So this is primary how 27,001 works. So to support that, you have a PDCA cycle where you have uh, where P stands for plan, do, check, act. Okay, the engine behind the entire ISMS is the PDCA cycle. Clause 4 to 7 represents planning or plan, which consists of context, leadership, risk assessment, and support. Clause 8 is related to do, which is the execution of your risk treatment plan. Clause 9 is check, which involves internal audit, monitoring, and management review. And okay, then clause 10 is about act, which is on corrective actions and continual improvements. So this is the whole essence basis which 27001 revolves. So, so the key observation here is, eight of the top 10 findings that we are going to cover today are the failures in check and act. So organization generally plan and do reasonably well, but they fail. Can you please go on mute, please, if you're not talking? So, so generally they fail in proving the system, is in the whole the check and the act related clauses. Okay, so so it's not only about the planning, but it's about execution, having a good process of review, and having a good process to see if there are any continual improvements that you need to make. Okay, so that is why you know uh, uh, in ISMS the PDCA cycle has a lot of significance. Okay, so so this is the map that we are talking about from uh, you know how the ISO 27001 is structured. Okay, uh, so clause 4 to 10 are all mandatory clauses. So which means that you need to implement this for sure. Okay, there is uh, no leeway, or there is not an optional related controls. These are all mandatory to any organization that is trying to implement and get certified for ISO 27001. And if you fail any of these, then your ISMS fails as a system. Annexure A provides around 93 operational controls divided into four themes, which are organizational, which has 37 controls. Then you have people, which has 8 controls. Then you have physical, which has 14 controls. And then technological, which has 34 controls. So basically, this helps in keeping the balance, keeping the balance in mind as we evaluate where the audit findings land. So the annexure controls are chosen basis the risk assessments and the which your SOA is created, which is the statement of applicability. So basis that you will select the controls that is applicable to your organization. So here you have the option of having optional controls, whichever suits your organization, those controls you will implement and showcase to the auditor uh, of its of its effectiveness that you have. Okay, okay. So I think Deepthi did mention about trading that's coming by. Okay, so before we get into the next topic, uh, I would just quickly show the details of that training. Okay, so that it gives you a perspective of what is coming up and what I'm going to take as part of my 12-hour program. Okay, so this is all about the training. It's a 12-hour program starting on the 22nd, that is this Saturday. Uh, and here I'm going to cover, so whatever we saw, the first three slides, whatever we saw, we will look at all that in little detail. And we'll also look at the internal audit principles and, how to showcase an audit finding. All those things will be covered as part of the program. So you can you are free to connect with any one of the uh, coordinators. They will help you to register, or I think you can register to the website as well. Okay. So this is starting this Saturday. Okay. So having said that, uh, we'll go back to our presentation. Okay. Now we'll look at the anatomy of sorry autonomy of the audit finding. Okay. So let's clarify how the auditor basically categorizes the findings. So the first is an observation, or as we all know it as an opportunity to improvement. Okay, this means that no clause has been breached, but the auditor is simply offering a suggestion basis the best practice. Okay, so it is more of a suggestive improvement that you can have within the process that has been implemented. Okay, and then you have a minor non-conformity, which is like an isolated slip or a single missed record or localization gap that that doesn't determine that does not undermine the overall system. Okay, so basically it could be a minor miss, but in a control where you need to have certain need certain implementation to be done, but maybe certain points would have got missed, so that would categorize as a minor non-conformity. Then you have a major NC, which is the major non-conformity. Uh, this represents the total absence of the required control or a pattern of repeated minors that breaks the confidence of the ISMS. So the auditors escalate the finding to major when root cause reoccurs, when leadership oversight is missing, or when a gap which is present is unmanaged through operational risk. So that is when it will be categorized as a major NC. When a certain control is totally absent. Okay, like you have policy but which has not been approved by the management. Okay, or the employees are not given information security training. Okay, so this could be some of the examples of a major NC. Like you have a physical door to a server room, but you don't have a mechanism to uh, verify who entered and who exited from the room. So, these are some of the major NCs that you can have. Okay, so I hope this classification is clear to all. So you have an observation, you have a minor NC and a major NC. Okay, so now we will look at some of those findings. Okay, which the whole intended topic of the discussion or the webinar was. So first of the finding is inadequate management review evidence. Okay, so for the ones who have been auditing or been an auditee or been part of internal audit, this is one of the common things you would have noticed during your audits. So how many of you have seen this during your audits, or you know maybe an auditor would have mentioned that to you? Is there anyone who has observed this? Okay. This is one of the common ones. So where you would have gone through a document and the document would be really well written, so everything is fine. But your management is not aware of the document. Okay, it would have been created by some junior member of the team. Maybe they'll have somebody, his manager, who would have been the approver. Okay, but this would have not been represented like your information security policy. That's a key document which has to be signed off by the CISO or head of information security. And the poor man or woman is not aware that such a document exists. So, and maybe because it is not gone for their review, okay, so their signatures are not there on the document. So this, as per clause 9.3, will be, which is listed as a mandatory input. So the audit results, the risk assessment status, the corrective actions, the stakeholder feedbacks. Okay, all these things would require the CISO review or the review from the management team. So this is one of the major NCs which generally gets missed out. During maybe during initial stage, the best way how you can avoid it is by running through management reviews. Okay, with an appropriate agenda. Okay, where you cover all the policies and documents which are been documented, where the oversight of a CISO or the head of security would be required. Okay, and as part of your review meetings, you can have minutes maintained, which will point out what was discussed, what was not, who are the owners. Okay, so this will give an indication that the review meeting has been happening and the process is in place. So Imran, yes, there would be exams. Yeah, I think Gulam has already. There will be an exam after the training session. Okay. So next finding is superficial risk treatment plan. Okay. So as part of the risk assessment process, once the risk assessment is done, if there are anything that needs to be addressed, you need to have a risk treatment plan. Okay. So as part of the plan, there should be a clear documentation that is done, okay, which showcases what the finding was, okay, how it's going to be addressed, then what are the different controls that it would impact, and what are the other controls that you're going to put in place. Will that putting of those controls are going to take care of the risk or not? Okay, so all these things would be taken care. But in the risk treatment plan, if you are doing a mere copy paste from the risk assessment, okay, so it might bring in information that is not required for which need not be represented in a risk treatment plan. So if something like this is viewed by the auditor, the auditor would directly showcase that as a major NC. Okay, uh, so there needs to be a clear mapping to the control. Okay, then it needs to clearly explain what the treatment is all about. Okay, so there should be some traceability to the risk, the chosen control, the implementation, evidences, and the residual risk. So there should be a flow in your risk treatment plan. Okay, that is when the plan will look complete. Okay, so as I just mentioned, if you have the clear traceability between the risk to the residual risk, and if that is clearly documented as part of your risk treatment plan, it is going to then you would not have any issue when it comes to facing the auditor, and even the auditor will be able to understand when looking at your risk treatment plan on what is the course of action that has been planned, so that whatever was the risk highlighted, how that is going to be remediated. Okay, so this is the next risk that is generally observed. Then going to the next one, which is a weak supplier relationship control. So the finding three, uh, it covers annexure A 5.19 through 5.22. Okay, so having security clauses in the vendor contract with no evidences of ongoing review, with no SOC reports, no completed questionnaires or third-party assessment. You know, uh, these are some of the things which, as an entity, if you are engaged in a third party, you need to have as part of your due diligence process. Okay, so wherein you need to have a process in place where you review the SLAs that you have with the vendor, uh, what certifications they carry, is it valid, is it not? If they don't have anything, then you collect the document set from that organization to see if they have a good security practice in place or not. Okay, so as part of that, you will do your annual due diligence. Okay, you will have a calendar for that, and it is a mandatory requirement that you, in case you're engaging a third party, you have the clauses clearly defined in your vendor contract. Okay, so these are the mechanism to avoid these kind of circumstances. That is, you have a supplier, you have a vendor, but you don't have appropriate documentation for governing the engagement that you have with the vendor. And this is also one of the common ones, because uh, I think from the time I have started doing ISO, even to now where I'm as an auditee, I have seen this thing where you have a vendor and you have do not have appropriate processes in place. Okay. Any questions till now? Great. Next is,
Please, Pradeep, please, can you go
yeah,
back to the last slide? I just want to see the last statement there on how to avoid it. Set area assessment calendar. Test. Okay. All right. Thank you.
yeah. Any which ways, I think this PPT would be shared. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So the next one is the incomplete asset registry and ownership. Again, this is this is also one of the most common ones that you will have as a minor finding, because you would be maintaining the inventory of assets. There could be a possibility that some of the items are not been added. It could be because of the attritions or new hires that might happen. So there would be plus minus. During the audit, maybe something. If uh, the tool that you're using for maintaining the inventory, if it has not been updated or something like that, these are some of the cases that do happen. Okay, so and it's a very common thing where you would find, and generally, uh, if you're an organization going to a new certification, this is one area where you would might have a miss. But initially, it is given as a minor NC. But if you have reputations of the same practice, then you know, uh, then the auditor would look at your previous. If it still continues, then they upgrade that to major NC also. Okay. So the way to avoid this is, keep feeding your CMDBs or discovery tools, or if you're not maintaining any tool, maybe if it's in a spreadsheet, keep updating your spreadsheet with the latest. That is why you have the access review process, to and where you do the reconciliation and all that stuff. So basis that you can always keep your inventory in check. And also, if you have a good practice of the joiner lever process, then also this thing is taken care of. Okay, then the other one is you can assign an individual or a department to take care of the whole inventory. Okay, so their whole purpose in the organization would be to ensure that the inventory is maintained and managed. Then, as I mentioned, you can do a reconciliation process where, basis the HR joiner lever, you can update the records. Okay, so it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, whichever works for the organization, depending on the size of the organization. Okay, next one is missing and unverified access review. Okay, so like one of the examples provided is quarterly access review ticket is closed, but there is no exported list, no manager sign off, no record of what was actually removed. If that is something like this is there, it would be tagged as a major NC. Uh, the annexure control here in discussion will be A.5.18, okay, or 18. So so whenever you do a quarterly review or a monthly review, whatever process is being there, which is followed in the organization, to ensure that each of these review process is signed off. The list is as of that day. Uh, then there should be a mechanism to go back on what was actually being done. Okay, was it added or removed or modified? There should be some flags around those. Okay, so basically this is related to employees accessing the systems even after they have left. okay, or having access to their systems even after their last working day. Okay, so these things could, would have a big potential risk. So that is why it would be tagged as a major NC. So the way you can avoid that is to generate access reports straight from the system and not out of memory. Okay, and then ensure that the manager signs off and there is a data trail for every cycle. Okay, and then you have a good hard SLA for deprovisioning and reviewing privileged access separately. So if you have all these things put in place, this uh, the mess around the access review can be taken care of. Okay. Then poorly documented incident root cause analysis. Okay. So for as you're aware, for every incident that ticket that has been raised, okay, it has to go through the resolution process or needs to go through uh, a patching process. Uh, so if there is no timeline or no root cause documented, or there is no link back to any risk that is there as part of your register or a lesson learned document, then it would be tagged as poor documentation of your uh, root cause analysis. Okay, so this can become a major NC only if there is a such repetitive process. But if it is one-off, then it would be taken as a minor NC because you do have a root cause analysis process, but there has been some kind of a documentation. You know, it has not been appropriately documented. I'll put it that way. Okay, so that is why the auditor might give a minor NC. But if you repeat, then this has a big potential of becoming a major NC. Okay, the best way to avoid this is standardize the whole root cause analysis process with the and then force it to be link your uh, kappa, which is your um, with the risk register that you have. Okay, so the corrective action and preventive action documentation that you would do, link, give a reference to the risk register, risk number that you would have given in your risk register. Okay, and you need to ensure that you track it till closure. Okay, because cannot be a thing where that is where the timeline perspective is very important in a root cause analysis. Okay, and when you create the kappa, you will mention by when this risk is going to be closed. Okay, so do ensure that you have appropriate timelines clearly mentioned. Okay, and this should be part of your management review process, and it has to be formally signed by your CISO or the head of information security. Okay. Now we'll go to the seventh one, which is lack of evidence for competence and awareness. I think this is one of the most common ones where the awareness to your information security policy itself would be missing, or maybe the whole process of information security training itself is not there. Okay, so then it becomes a major NC. Okay, But in this example that you see, since only one out of all the staff, did not go through the whole the quiz or complete, the whole training process. So, for one person missing, they would not fail the process. Okay, uh, so from that perspective, but if you have a situation where out of 100 employees, there are 60 employees who have not completed or 30 employees that are not completed, that's a big number from that perspective. Then it would be a major NC. But in this case, it's just one employee who has not done it. So, that's why it's been tagged as minor NC. Uh, so, the best way to tackle this is build role-based training matrix. Okay, then track completion basis the dashboards. Okay, and then run phishing simulations. Have periodic trainings. Generally, organizations have half-yearly trainings that will happen. Okay, or at the time of joining. Okay, so there would be these are the three targeted dates when the refresher trainings and the information security trainings would happen, either when you join the company or on a half yearly basis. Okay.
Pradeep, I have a small question here. Now,
Okay.
while documenting test of evidence for either user access provisioning or deprovisioning,
Hmm.
there are 25 samples are being selected, and out of the 25 samples, 5 samples have missing evidences. In that case, are we going to rate the test of effectiveness has failed, or how actually auditor go ahead and documents that?
So basically, what they would do is out of the five ones which are which had some misses,
Mhm,
okay, they will see which are the ones how
mhm,
critical those five line items were.
okay, okay. Mhm,
Okay, depending on that, see if it is some minor thing, some minor incident, or some minor risk which was there,
okay.
okay, for which you have missed, then it will be a minor NC. Okay,
Ha, 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 ha.
but if it is related to some major misses,
Mhm,
okay, then it will
okay,
be a major NC. That objectivity the auditor will ensure.
okay, okay,
Okay, that will depend upon for which ones the misses were there.
okay. Got it. Ha, ha.
Okay. So for your question on the chat, which is related to uh, you know from an access control perspective, uh, see again if as I just explained now, it will all depend upon how much of a mess it is. Okay, so if you're if you have a process where you have defined quarterly access review process, which means you should have 4 quarter reports. Okay, but out of the 4 quarter reports, if you have only 2 reports, then it is a major NC. Okay, say you have 3 reports, the last quarter report, you have done the review, but the report is under review with the CISO or the head of security, but the audit happened before that review process could complete, then it will become a minor NC because it could be a minor NC or an area of improvement, depending upon, again, it will depend upon the auditor. Okay. In most likeliness, it might become a minor NC. Okay. So maybe you need to tweak your process to ensure that you complete all these processes before your audit period. Okay, so that is how the auditor would look at. Okay, again, it differs from auditor to auditor how they view it. But if you personally ask me, I would give a minor NC because uh, they are, if the process states that they have quarterly review process, they need to ensure that they do it quarterly, or they ensure the audit is also, because they know when the audit is going to happen, so they need to ensure that they complete those activities before that. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. uh, okay,
Thank you.
moving yeah, moving forward, the untested business continuity and IS continuity plan. So people who have been in the business continuity line of activity, they would know that testing is a very key uh, activity when it comes to BCP, or from a DR perspective also, testing is very key. If for any reason uh, the testing doesn't happen, okay, during your audit cycle, okay, then it would be treated as a major NC. Okay, bare minimum at least your tabletop exercise should be done. Okay, with appropriate evidence of the tabletop exercise, because it has to have an agenda, what you're testing against, what was the rollback plan, all the things that is related to BCP needs to be there. Okay, so just by giving you know uh, tabletop exercise evidence, it doesn't mean that you clear the audit. Okay, it has to have a very well documented report signed off by your head of security. Okay, and uh, and it has to ensure that it covers all the scenarios that was going to be tested. Okay, so generally you'll see you'll get a report, tabletop exercise report. Okay, where there is no sign off, there is no document history, nothing would be there. You'll get a plain, no, we did this exercise on this date. This is what we tested. Generally, it is antivirus from a technology standpoint, or it will be related to fire or something like that. Okay, but ensure that you document it properly. Okay, and ensure that tabletop exercise is at least done once in a year. And what I would recommend is, along with the tabletop exercise, do a scenario based exercise also. Okay, where you simulate, uh, that is when the real character in people will come into picture. Okay, then you need to have the process to capture the learnings, and then update the plan accordingly. Okay, and this is where the continual improvement thing comes into picture. Okay, and and then you define the information security continuity requirement for each of the critical systems. Okay, so which is nothing but documenting for all the critical system how the BCP is going to work for them, or how the DR plan is going to work for that particular component. Okay, so this is related to the untested BCP plan. Yeah, Prem.
Hello.
Yeah, Prem, tell me.
Yeah, sir. So, so just like you have the regarding this untested BCP business continuity and IS continuity plan. So, in so few of our cases while doing the audit, I got to know that uh, organizations sometimes give us tabletop exercise documented in a fully manner. But we too know, we understand that that's a fake document which they have bring up where you have the signature also. How I can able to know the exact reason that I know it's a fake, but how should I rectify
So
that? Yeah. So if you can help me
just
out in a real way.
just cross question them on who are the participants. Okay. See,
Okay.
if it's a document just made using, if you think it is a fake document, then review that document top to bottom. Okay, and then ask some critical questions where you know if it was actually done or not. Okay, you can ask who were the participants, what were their roles. Okay, which person played. How was the simulation done? Okay, can you run me through the whole tabletop exercise plan that you have? See, as an auditor, you have time. Okay, you have nowhere to run. Okay, yeah. You take your time, go through that document completely, ask relevant questions, to just to be sure that if the document submitted was actually done or not. Okay, you can ask when was it given for review, who has signed it, when was it signed. If it is a person who really was top of that activity, would know each and every date, time, when when it was uh, tested, who are all the participants, what was the whole tabletop exercise process they followed. Okay, so that is the best way to get to know if a report submitted is, it's a true report or a false report.
Okay, okay, sir. Because the in today's time, the reports can be made through ChatGPT, and when we ask probe more questions, then at that time we get a resistance from the client.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
I was just going to use the same ChatGPT, but I thought, okay, let it be, But you know, when ChatGPTs did not exist, also fake reports were made.
Yes, yes. Copy pasting from any other entity, they
Yeah,
get it,
yeah, yeah.
and
So
yes,
there was a stage when they used to download some company's thing, and when you review, you will get a reference of that company also. So
yes.
these are some of the ways. The best way is to go through each and every document that you get. Okay, there would be a set pattern if you really see. Okay,
Mhm.
and and cross question. That is the best way to find out. Okay, if it was actually done or it was just been made up.
Okay, okay.
As per my experience, just I want to say during the things, I have asked that some involvement between asking a technical steps. Okay, whether if you done the DR drill has been performed. So give me the some of the time after these things, how it was executed, where what the records was they got changed. Put some technical questions on that between that.
Yeah, that
And
works when
okay, yeah, so it works that if he's trying to hide anything, they will always go in the things. And what
like,
when you are asked that who all are they involved, try to cross question asking them. Can I have a that person and again ask the can he be able to explain the things where he was involved and how he had executed the task.
right. No, that works if they have done a simulation test. Okay, but if it's a tabletop test, then it's all on, they wouldn't have actually done, so you'll not have records around it. But from even if you have to know if a tabletop exercise was actually done, one of the points the gentleman just mentioned, cross question on who are the people involved during the tabletop test and what their roles were, uh, and because a tabletop exercise would also be minuted, so you can ask them for the minutes of that tabletop test also. Okay, and if it was recorded session, then you can ask them for the recording, the transcript, and all those things. So these are some of the ways you can find out. Okay.
Sure, sir. So thank you. Thank
And
you.
the other one is if it's a report generated using any of these AI product, the best way is to ask them for the tabletop exercise meeting invite. Okay, that will be the first thing that will not be present at all if it is an AI generated document. They need to have an invite for the tabletop exercise. Okay, you can start from
Yes,
there.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, moving forward, failure to audit the internal audit process itself. Okay, so as part of clause 9.2, okay, so it is a requirement that you have a process to review the whole internal audit program itself. Okay, so which means if you don't do that, then it's a major NC because it's a mandatory clause. Okay, so mandatory clause, you don't have an option to miss anything. You have to implement as the standard prescribes. So as part of that, one of the uh, most required thing is that you have a robust internal audit process, which means that you have an internal audit calendar, you have appropriate invites been sent for your internal audits. You should have a whole internal audit reporting mechanism. Then the uh, reports around the internal audit reports should have an appropriate uh, format and SLA of submitting to the review board reviews as part of your board review because this internal audit team would be a separate team in itself which would conduct the assessments. Okay, so if there is any miss in this process, then it would be a major NC. Okay, so the best way to avoid it is to build a multi-year audit program matrix, okay, which ensures that the full ISMS is in scope. Enforce independence, okay, so this is to ensure the maker checker. Okay, so you cannot have the information security team or the risk and compliance team auditing their own process. Okay, then keep the complete record of the internal audit auditor and review the program itself. Okay, so you should have a review mechanism on an annual basis so that you ensure that the full ISMS gets audited on an annual basis. Okay, so this is one of the other key findings which you will see. They will have everything in place, but they will not have the process to review the internal audit program itself. The last in the list is ineffective corrective action tracking. It is not only about creating the kappa. Okay, you need to have the process of tracking each and every kappa to closure. Okay, so if you don't have that, then it is tagged as a major NC. Okay, so and uh, and this is something which you will observe in any organization. They would have the whole process around uh, they'll have the whole process around defining the kappa, but they will not have the somebody will document it, but then there will be no overall tracking process to closure. So from that point of view, the best way to avoid it is uh, ensure that you have a tracking process. Okay, then uh, and ensure that there is no closure without a documented root cause. Okay, so if you have a root cause analysis done, ensure that you have a kappa created and there is somebody, scheduling weekly meetings to run through to see the status and to ensure closure. Okay, and the other ways, in case you are using Power BI or any dashboarding tool, you have a dashboard which is published to the team and to the head of security or the CISO, so that it is in high visibility. Okay, so these are the some of the ways where you do can ensure the corrective action is taken here. Okay. Any questions for the 10 items that we have just gone through?
I had a question in the previous slide, but you moved quite swiftly. Yeah, on here it says why it goes major or escalates when the program doesn't cover the full IMS scope across its cycle. Now, when you say its cycle, are you referring to the 3-year cycle? Or are you referring to a yearly cycle?
Here it is the references to the internal audit process cycle.
Okay, so what timeline would a cycle refer to here? That's basically what I'm saying.
Yearly cycle.
A yearly cycle. Okay. So ideally, the internal audit should cover the entire scope of the ISMS on a yearly basis.
On a yearly basis.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Imran.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, I have one question. My background is finance, but I'm trying to change my field into the audit. So today I attended your session, and just like it sounds that the training or the next 12 session would be just like the theoretically, just like you will be explaining to us on the slides as well. My worry is that is there not such a way that there should be some sort of the practical, just like example that you can give
Yeah,
us.
that is their part of the training.
There's a part of the training.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
So it's a 4 hours each session, right? So which will run for 3 days. So I would be giving you there are some exercises in that which will help you to do those activities.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. And so at the end, in order to earn the certificate, it is enough that the certificate that you give us, it's enough, or we will be just like appearing in the prometric exam to earn the certificate.
So basis the training that I gave, you can so it will help you to understand the ISO 27001 requirements, annexures, and how to do an internal audit. Okay. So that you'll get a complete know-how of that whole process. And if you wish to pursue further certification, this will help you also.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, Pradip. You said, and it may be similar to the question from the last speaker. There's a session for internal audit training, and then the exam is that a certified exam with which folks can present when an external auditor come in to say that they are certified as internal auditors?
So this would be more from a knowledge perspective, because if you can always write an exam which is conducted either by BSI or one of those accreditation bodies. Okay. You need not go through the training process. You can directly write the certification exam.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you can call, but this will equip you to that exam.
Okay. So that's the training that comes after this is going to be that sort of training that gives you that sort of knowledge to write an exam if you wish to.
Yeah, if you wish to. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any which ways, as part of this training, there would be an exam after the whole program is done.
Okay.
Okay, so it will give you a perspective of how the other exams would span out to.
May look like. Okay.
Yeah, may look like. Yeah. Okay.
Pradeep, a small question. I mean, if you quickly want to differentiate between the IT audit and ISMS audit, how you could able to differentiate that? I mean, people who are testing user access management, change management, computer operations in IT audit, and how is that, are you going to differentiate that from ISMS thing?
See, ISMS is, it's more on the information security controls. Okay. So from that perspective, it is about an organization showcasing that they have an robust information security management system. Okay. So as part of your information security management, you have, other IT related controls, okay, which is taken care. But when it comes to an IT audit, okay, it is very specific to that domain. Okay,
Got it.
if you say change management, the whole audit revolves around change management. Here, change management could be just part of one component in the whole system. Okay, so it is like you have your ISMS, you're zooming in. Okay, and you have on change management. If you're doing a specific audit on change management, then that becomes that it's an IT audit for that particular domain alone. Okay,
Okay.
or it could be from a patch management perspective. It could be, so it is very specific to that
Correct.
technology that you want to assess. Okay.
Yeah, Pradeep. Thank you.
Okay. So here is the glance of all the 10 control or the 10 findings that we just looked at. Okay. Now, I think this, yeah. So as part of the whole findings that you have, okay, you would have the remediation process. Okay. So as part of the remediation process, the first is to contain, okay, which is like you immediately mitigate the issue, okay, which is an immediate fix kind of a thing. Okay. Then you have the process of identifying the root cause, okay, to see if it was a human error or it was a systemic error, or or if it was because of poor process definition. We'll just try to find what was the cause because of which an incident or uh, a risk exists in the organization. Then we'll come to the process of whole correction, okay, which is correct, where you'll actually fix the issue, okay. Then uh, basis whatever was identified as part of the root cause, process, you will apply the fixes or apply the controls, and then you'll reach the process of prevent, where you will modify the underlying process and the systemic controls. Okay, so which means you will make some changes to the current process or configuration changes to the IT controls that you have implemented. Okay, and but the whole thing is that should prevent the reoccurrence of that finding. Okay. Next is to verify, where you will have a re-evaluation process to look at the effectiveness of the controls that you have implemented. Okay. So depending on which process is being addressed, Okay, you could have a monthly cycle or weekly cycle or a 6 monthly cycle. You'll revisit to see if that risk still continues to exist. Okay, if it exists, then you will again come to the whole process of contain, root cause, correct, prevent, verify. Okay, so it is something related to your PDCA cycle also. Okay, till that time, you see, one of my favorite quotes that I have is 99% compliant, secure is also 100% vulnerable. Okay, so irrespective of how much controls you put, you will still be vulnerable at some point in time. Okay, since the whole evolution that is there in the current technology ecosystem that is there. So this is a continual process. So that is why the PDCA is a very important uh, concept that is there in ISMS. Okay. So this would be our, I think, last slide. So before you get to a stage two, so you have a stage one audit and then you'll have a stage two audit. So stage one is basically the time when all your documentations are reviewed. Okay, it could be a policy, procedure, whatever the process of documentation you have, they will do a documentation review and they will also review the scope that is in place. Your SOA, all these things get reviewed during your stage one audit. Stage two audit is when the auditor will check your systems, they will do physical audits of your infrastructure and everything. Okay, so this is just a countdown, before your stage two, how you can plan. Okay, so which is like before 90 days, you execute a full scope internal audit and conduct your formal management review covering all mandatory inputs. 60 days before, close any open CAPAs which are there with with the evidences that you verify against refreshed access and vendor reviews. 30 days before, you ensure that you conduct a dry run of stage two audit to ensure to test against the top 10 findings that you would have listed. Okay, and 1 week before, organize your evidence repository mapped by clause or annexure A controls and brief the control owner on the interview formats. Okay, so if you follow this methodology, most likely you should clear through your audits. Okay, so which means that 3 months before you start the whole planning process of your defining the scope, doing your gap assessment to see what are those gaps. Whatever gaps gets identified, close it with kappa appropriate. Okay, do your all, if you have third party, do the supplier review process, then do a mock run 30 days before, because there could be some spillovers, so you'll have 30 days to close. 1 week before, stop all activities, start organizing your evidences, start organizing your documentation, work with the stakeholders in terms of what the auditors would look at, what they might question. Okay, and you should be good when the audit starts. Okay, so that is the session that I had planned for today. So, if anybody has any question, we can go with that.
I have
Any
a question.
questions?
I have a
Yeah,
question. So, Pradeep, thanks for the presentation. When you work in a multinational, right, where an arm of the multinational has an ISMS scope, however, the technical controls are bought from the group providers. So a multinational, but then you have a UK jurisdiction, and then you have an ISMS scope for the UK jurisdiction. But then quite a majority of the technical controls are not controlled by that UK jurisdiction, but by the multinational, the group providers, technical providers. How do you then structure your internal audits to help cover the scope, especially for those technical controls which are applicable or appear in your statement of applicability?
See, so the statement of applicability will be very specific to the entity you're auditing, right? So if they have a group company which is governing that,
Yeah.
then you should also look at what is the contract between the group company and the subsidiary. Okay, so you look at how the information flows between these two organizations. If the group policy is superseding the policy within this organization, then you have to review both the documents. You should see if there is any correlation between them. Okay, and basis what the group policy that has been defined by the group, I think you should audit against those principles and not what is being shown by this organization, because eventually the as a subsidiary you have to follow what your group is mentioning.
Okay.
Okay, so that is how the relationship will be there, and you can request for their ISO certificate. Okay, so that to get an assurance that their certificate is current and what is the scope of their engagement as well.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sir, I
Vaibhav.
have one. So, sir, while doing the ISMS audit for an organization, so do we need to have also have a list of in-scope application while doing the ISMS audit, internal audit?
Yeah, so that is where you collect the inventory, right?
Okay, okay, okay,
So inventory will not only have systems, it will have details of the applications used, the people who are there. So it is people, process, and technology.
technology.
Yeah, you will have the inventory of all.
Okay, okay. So while doing the ISMS internal audit for ISO 27001, your in-scope application should also part of that
Yeah, yeah,
assessment.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Because in few of the cases we get the department, just like any organization wanted to go for the internal audit, since once any organization is certified, ISO certified, so I think within 3 years they have to go for one internal audit, and then only they can go for recertification. Correct, sir?
So that could be a process followed in some organizations.
Okay,
Generally, as an internal audit process, on an annual basis, you need to check because the reason is very simple. You have surveillance audits also happening
correct.
during the year. So you cannot have a situation where you are having an observation during the surveillance audit. Okay. And your final audit will, again, full audit will happen on the third year. Okay. So first year you have a full audit, then you have a surveillance, then you have a full audit, right? So from that perspective, it is better to as an internal auditor, it is better to audit your processes and processes within that year itself, so that you are in control.
Okay, okay. ठीक है. Got it, sir. And only one point is that we while doing that, we got the department just like admin, HR, IT, information security, plus the in-scope application will part of the scope of assessment for
Yeah.
doing this. Okay.
Not only application, the supporting infrastructure also should be
Yeah,
there.
definitely. Basis on that application only, critical applications, your supporting infrastructure at the back end will be
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
Vaibhav.
Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
sure, Vaibhav.
Yes, sir. Sir, a good question. Let's say, is there any evidence if it's missing that might create problem in issuing the certificate? Let's say
Yeah, yeah.
pen test. Yeah, let's say the pen test or the tabletop exercise. If that's missing, will it create a problem in
Yes,
issuing the certificate?
yes,
That's
it
a
will.
mandatory requirement, right?
Yeah, yeah.
With
See,
obviously cannot.
if it
Uh-huh.
is part of your SOA, it is mandatory. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is
Okay.
clause 4 to 10, it is any which way is mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So any evidence that is missing from an SOA perspective is also not acceptable. And
Okay.
any evidence which is related to your clause 4 to 10 is also not acceptable.
If clause 4 to 10 are the mandatory requirements,
Mandatory,
right?
yeah, mandatory requirements.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That's all, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So I think, as I mentioned, the the session starts on the 22nd. Okay. So anybody interested, please connect with the GISA representatives and they'll help you out with it. Or you can go to the portal and register.
Sir,
Okay.
do you take any AIMS sessions?
Yeah, I also take that. I completed one batch of the AIMS internal auditor program as well.
Okay. So any coming batches are there?
Uh, so I think that you can check in the GSAF portal
Okay.
itself
Sure, sure.
because I think next after this the next which I'm going to take is more on the PCI DSS related.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So if no further questions, we'll
Sir, one thing more. Let's say
yeah.
there's an initial certification of that. So we do have to go through this stage one and stage two, right?
Yeah.
And for the surveillance audits, do we have to go with the same process?
No, surveillance. The once you clear your stage two, the next sequence of your audit is
Surveillance
surveillance.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
So stage one and stage two will be in the recertification audit, right?
Yeah, that is the first two audits that happens.
Okay, okay. First we have the initial audit, and the secondary we have the surveillance one, surveillance two, and then the recertification.
Recertification. Yeah.
And in the recertification, we will go through the stage one and stage two again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not stage one, stage two. It will be surveillance. Stage one, stage two comes in the when you're doing your certification for the first time.
Okay.
Okay.